Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Strat-Based ADR Institute's virtual town hall discussion on Digital Readiness PH, proactive measures to fostering digital readiness and competitiveness in the Philippines. My name is Paco Pangalangan. I'm the Executive Director of Strat-Based ADR Institute, and I'll be serving as your moderator for today. To officially kick off our town hall discussion this morning, though, may I please first introduce the president of Strat-Based ADR Institute, Professor Dean Manhit, for his welcoming remarks. Professor Manhit.
Good morning, Paco. Thank you. Good morning to our speakers, led by Department of ICT Secretary Gregory Honasan, and our other speakers, which will be introduced later by our moderator. But I also, more importantly, would like to welcome all our participants of over the weekend. We saw a little over 5 or more than 500 registrations for this virtual town hall discussion. But it's the whole idea of this series that we are doing in our institute to bring different stakeholders on what we consider as key sectors, as key issues that we are confronted with in this COVID era. Last year, our team in the Institute, especially our research and intelligence team, started identifying key challenges of this pandemic, not only at the level of social or health challenges, economic challenges, governance challenges, security challenges. But what we have seen since last year, at the core of it, is about the digital challenge. We spoke of the digital divide as a challenge, but digital readiness could actually become an opportunity. That's why a few weeks back, I think if I remember, August 17, I wrote in my commentary, The Business World, I spoke of a people-centric approach to digital readiness. And I raised questions are we digitally ready? What does digital readiness truly entail? But what we have seen during this pandemic is that we are actually experiencing improvements in internet services. Third-party studies, international studies have shown how investments coming from the private sector can bring about better internet speed. We have seen also maybe the reality of work from home, education from home, improvement in terms of digital quality of life. And the improvement was driven by the country's better internet quality and electronic security. Though its main downfall continues to be internet quality, but we can still see improvement on these issues. But as we look at improving our digital quality of life, we have seen, as I've said earlier, improvement in terms of electronic security, internet affordability, and we see some opening opportunities for government to really see the value of technology. What remains to be a challenge is how can the education sector catch up? How can we build on the education sector, the K-12 system, the post-secondary system through TESDA, and really improve on the talent, capacities to training and education? Because studies reflect that we are weakening in terms of talent, training, and education as sub-factors under the knowledge pillar. We need to look at this because at the core of any society is its human capital. And part of a digital readiness, it requires a developmental paradigm shift from what is backward, cumbersome, and even corruption-prone bureaucratic process because of the lack of transparency. to one that can focus on solutions that will result in efficiency, transparency, accountability, and growth. It's about people's readiness. So I reiterate what I've written in the business world. A people-centric approach must start with developing the people's skill sets and values that will enable our workforce to optimally wield digital technologies with ease and break the digital divide that we saw as a challenge, but as I've said, can be turned into an opportunity as we shifted to broader digital life. In a new digital ecosystem, we need leaders for digital transformation, champions at both the private and the public sector that can inspire bold innovations that will integrate the disconnected processes, policies, and even flaws in governance that have been manifestly exposed by this protracted and continuing health crisis. But today, we have speakers from the broad sector of Philippine society. And hopefully, to our institute, we would like to push this idea of turning digital readiness into people's readiness. Again, welcome and good morning to all speakers. Ako, thank you for this opportunity to open this webinar.
All right. So thank you, Professor Manhit, for your welcome remarks. Indeed, you talked about the people-centric approach to addressing that digital readiness gap that as you've pointed out, that we have here in the Philippines. So thank you for that, sir. At this point, let me now move on to our keynote address for today's town hall discussion, talking about fostering a digital empowerment agenda for recovery and competitiveness. We have Secretary Gringo Nasan, Secretary of the Department of ICT. If I may, a brief introduction of Secretary Anasan. Secretary Anasan, at the age of 35, became the youngest officer in the history of the armed forces at the time to be promoted to full colonel. He was first elected to the Senate in 1995 and has been elected senator 4 times as an independent over the years. Secretary Anasan currently serves as the Secretary of the DICT. Secretary, the floor is yours. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Paco, Brad. I guess this is a privilege and a blessing reserved for your keynote speakers. No? I will not take so much of your time, but let me bring back my heart rate to normal by digitally and virtually holding the hands of my brothers for comfort. Let me go through protocol. Professor Dindo Manhit, Brad, Paco, Miss Yolanda Crisanto of Globe Telecom, Brad Roy Ibay of Smart, Claire of Facebook, Bowie of Grab Philippines, Christian Reyes of HP Philippines, of course, Brad Dorley, who facilitated so much of what is going to happen. My warmest greetings to colleagues in the public service and our partners in the private sector, fellow speakers, friends, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Filipinos, good morning to all of you. First, please allow me to go through the material that was prepared for me. This is almost SOP. As I keynote, Digital Readiness PH, fostering a digital empowerment agenda for recovery and competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, your Department of Information and Communications Technology, as the government arm tasked with promoting and advancing the national ICT agenda, recognizes the need for the country to adapt to the changing global landscape to build a stronger and more competitive Philippine economy. Hence, we continue to embark on programs, projects, and initiatives aimed at fulfilling our mandate of creating an ICT-enabled nation. This involves the creation of a connected Philippines, where the Filipino people can access their basic needs and fundamental rights, including access to data and information. At this point, let me share with you something that we all are aware of already. Data is the new gold, the new oil, and access to data and information has become a right and a privilege, together with basic needs like food, clothing, shelter, education, health services, and of course, access to data. Truly, we envision a thriving digital nation wherein our people, through complete, accurate, and timely information, can make rational, intelligent, and long-term decisions, which benefit their personal lives and society as a whole. Our efforts are directed towards accelerating digital transformation, beginning with the establishment of actual physical connectivity highways through the national broadband network. Likewise, as we bring this connectivity to various parts of the country, including unserved and underserved areas, we are offering free Wi-Fi for all access in public areas, from schools to hospitals to parks. At the same time, while fast-tracking our digital connectivity and infrastructure programs, or the more precise word is infrastructure programs, we are also implementing capacity-building initiatives to upskill Filipinos for the digital economy. This training aims to uplift and empower more Filipinos, particularly those belonging to the most vulnerable sectors of society. Moreover, we are focusing our government modernization and digitization projects to build a more conducive, sustainable, and predictable business environment. These programs will also help streamline government processes, providing a more efficient and faster delivery of services to the public. Lastly, we continue our efforts of raising awareness on how to mitigate cybersecurity risks and threats as more and more people turn to ICT. We are educating our citizens on the proper and safe use of online platforms and resources to ensure their protection as they navigate cyberspace. We hope that our collaboration here today will positively contribute to a better digital future for the country and hopefully the global community. As we continue to adapt to the new normal, let us make good use of every opportunity to build stronger and more resilient economies. Let us pray that our next meeting, our next engagements, our next conversations will allow us to witness more successful solutions for economic recovery and sustainable development towards what we term as the new normal. With this, we call on our political leaders, industry experts, and stakeholders to join us in working towards our shared goal of digital transformation. Let us continue to work together and join hands in welcoming a thriving digital future, not just for ourselves. Let me stop here because that was my prepared speech. Now let me share with you what I really wanted to tell all of you. First, I thought I had already crafted a more relevant speech until Brad Dindo, Professor Manhit, talked about people-centric approaches to digital transformation as a means to empower ourselves for recovery and competitiveness. So I realized that no matter how hard we try to harness the power of technology, ICT, artificial intelligence, algorithms, the entire array of tools at our disposal, It is actually our efforts to connect people to each other and develop a face-to-face engagement where we can read the body language that is not reflected in our digital engagements. The COVID-19 issue has actually allowed us or even compelled us to look at problems in a developing scenario like ours that existed before the COVID. There is no playbook for our response to the pandemic issue. I sit in the interagency task force where almost every day, every hour, every minute, we continue to balance and rebalance the public health variables, the economic variables, the politico-social variables, not to mention the security variables. Our mantra is our responses should be data-driven and science-based. No. Data must drive our efforts to provide a semblance of continuity, sustainability, and policy predictability so that we can go into serious nation building and effectively respond proactively to every situation that confronts us. It is interesting to note that the first sector we need to educate about the power of ICT-driven connectivity is the government sector. We are going through budget deliberations, and there are positive and negative aspects to this. There are less questions from Congress because the level of appreciation, as I mentioned earlier, is limited. So we get off the hook faster than the other departments. The downside is because there is limited understanding, we are also given an obscenely small budget. And sometimes, hindi ako nagsusumbong, no? I'm just reporting to you. The budget that is given us, even for the national broadband, is not even enough for one region. But again, harnessing the power of private-public partnership and convergence, we are moving forward. Lastly, the COVID-19 issue as it relates to digital readiness, an empowerment agenda again for recovery and competitiveness, has been used as an excuse and a reason by many to do or not to do things. As Professor Brad Dindo said earlier, it is now to me and must be to all of us an opportunity to rewrite our laws if necessary, no? Recraft, re-engineer our implementing rules and regulations so they can be more proactively responsive to the developing situation that will lead us into a better new normal. So with that, I will take off from where I left off. And why are we doing this? We are doing this, as I have done in my previous notorious professional career. We do this for our most precious, strategic, and renewable resource, our next generation of global citizens and leaders, our children. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.
Thank you, Senator Onasan. As promised, you spoke from both your mind and your heart. And we appreciate the candidness and also appreciate how you've set the stage for our discussion today on the importance of digital readiness amidst a pandemic. So thank you, Secretary Onasan. Now we go on to our panel of speakers. This morning we have a great panel of experts from organizations that shape the Philippine digital landscape, and who run the programs, the apps, and services that we use that we rely on a daily basis. But before we go to our first speaker, I just wanted to let our participants know that we have a panel, like I said, who will have like more or less 10 minutes each to share their thoughts, at which point after that we'll have an open forum. For that, I encourage everybody to send their questions that they want to ask the speakers through our Q&A function of Zoom at the bottom right corner of your screens, probably. So yes, so thank you. Now that that's out of the way, please allow us to come to our first panelist for this morning. So our first panelist this morning is the Senior Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer and Head of Corporate Communications for Globe Telecom, Ms. Yoli Crisanto, who will be talking about Globe Telecom's digital infra expansion and digital literacy initiatives. Ma'am Yoli, good morning po.
Good morning, Paco. Thank you for inviting us over. And also good morning to you, Dindo, and to our DICT Secretary, Honasan, and to all of the participants that are listening now. I just want to take you through our lens of how we see digital readiness, the digital readiness journey of the Philippines. Earlier, Dindo, during his introduction, shared some statistics, right? So I won't go over because these are mostly coming from the same study. But what's the important thing to understand is that at this point in time where we are in the Philippines, third-party global companies are already saying that in terms of our digital quality of life, we have done a lot in terms of improvement, right? And even if you look at the way netizens are doing the conversations over social media, the conversations have also changing from the 5 years ago, very slow internet to something that is different, like GCash mo na yan, or have you done this, or naka 4G ka na ba, or naka LTE ka na ba? So we're very happy because we know that a lot of the things that we have done to improve the industry has actually gaining ground and bearing fruit. However, having said that, we know that there are certain hits, but we also know that there are still challenges. And one of the challenges, which even our own Secretary Honasan alluded to, is in terms of being able to digitize government. So if you see the lag, we are 63 in terms of, we're ranking 63 in terms of e-infrastructure and 67th in the world under e-government indicators, right? So that's a certain improvement that we can get ourselves into. However, if you take a look at the towers, for instance, or the infrastructure that we have put up, we'd also like to thank the government for the support. Over the last 2 years, the two key enabling laws of ARTA and Bayanihan 2 have actually in 2 years doubled up the infrastructure that we have in terms of ICT. No? And if we go towards what the Secretary has said about giving more enabling laws, being more up to the times in terms of digital readiness, then we can do so much more really. So if we look at speed is no longer an issue at this point, but however, the issue is really about, are we connected seamlessly, right? And in terms of connectivity, is connectivity consistently good across all locations? So again, that is the challenge that we have to take. Internet penetration, sorry, can you go back to the same slide? Internet penetration in the country is about 65% now. And here, we continue to be the #1 country with most time spent on social media. Okay, next slide. In terms of COVID-19, I don't know if there is something good that we can really say about what happened to us during the pandemic. But at least for our sector, we know that it accelerated digital adoption among consumers, especially those in the area of e-payments, right, and e-commerce. Before the pandemic, we know that the Philippines is a cash-first society, right? But now, 2 years with this pandemic, we see the tremendous growth of e-payments in GCash and PayMaya and all of the other platforms, right? And not only in e-payments, people are also shifting their airtime loading to digital channels. The proliferation of applications or digital apps, as we call it, is something that Filipinos are now readily adopting. They buy on Lazada, they buy on Shopee, they pay via online, either GCash or their online banking, right? And so a lot of the economic activities are now being done online, including coming from the micro and small and medium enterprises. Next slide. Now, in terms of corporations, there is also an increasing adoption in the use of cloud and security, right? So this is a very good indicator because Philippines can be an ICT champion, that this cloud native where local players can provide high-touch services at good value. 94% of local businesses see that cloud-based solutions is an important factor to mitigate COVID impact. And if we have more companies getting into the cloud, right, doing a lot of things on the digital space, right, they don't even have to write checks anymore, right? They all have to do these things digitally, right? Even inventories, etc., at the corporate level, then we can say that with more of this digital adoption coming, it can fuel the huge demand for ICT. Next slide, please. In the area of Globe, insofar as we are concerned, when we see the level of adoption growing, this is also brought about by the increasing level of investments that we are also doing. So for 2021, it's a record $2.1 billion capex that we are spending in order for us to improve and develop more of the infrastructure, more of the digital infrastructure that the country needs, right? We have made 4G now the default, the de facto technology for mobile data. And we are aggressively expanding into 5G to enable more new services like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, robotics, and all of those, right? We are also, if in the past, Philippines, when it comes to Philippines, is mobile only. But with the advent of COVID, we were able to be given the opportunity to also improve our fiber to the homes. This has been our real challenge in the past. When you talk about speed, for instance, we have a very good speed when it comes to mobile, but when it comes to homes, there's no internet connectivity, right? But the COVID pandemic forced us to really develop and improve connectivity at home because of challenged mobility. And now, I'm so happy to say that in the case of Globe, for instance, we targeted 1 million lines, fiber lines this year, and by the end of the year, and we were able to hit that target this September already. And we're doing a whole lot more, right? So if we put a lot of fiber onto homes, then you're going to see that again, substantial increases in terms of internet speed and connectivity. Next slide. So Globe is committed to delivering first world network. If you take a look at pricing, for instance, which has been another one of those challenges that we've heard from our customers, saying that internet in the Philippines is very expensive. That price has gone down tremendously. If you look at what we are offering to our customers here at the lower end of the slide, at the price per gigabyte and gigabyte allocation, we are now selling 6 pesos to 7 pesos only per gigabyte. And the offer that we are giving is higher gigabytes for lower cost. So today, a customer can get as much as 16 gigabytes only by paying 6 pesos per gigabyte. And the same is true for homes. Like our home prepaid Wi-Fi price per gigabyte has gone down, as you can see, tremendously from 23 pesos per gigabyte to now that it's 7 pesos per gigabyte. Next slide, please. Another area that telco is very much challenged because of our scale of operations is in customer service. Yeah, so we are facing this using digital technologies, and even our customers are now sort of getting used to the fact that if they call hotline, they will be answered by a chatbot, not a real person, right? But a bot that can provide more efficient ways of how they can channel the right problem or the right issue to the right people. So we are using technology in order to provide more efficient services to our customers. See, if you see the statistics that we have, 86% of our customer complaints are now handled on digital, whether you use the hotline or whether you use the applications like Globe One, Globe at Home, or TM, or even the GCash app, right? Not only that, we're also doing things on Viber. So we have 40 Viber communities servicing 52,000 customers, and 3.5 million outbound calls year to date, which removes the waiting line of customers in our hotline. Next slide. So Globe, as we have journeyed also from telco to now into a digital solutions and digital platform company, Globe is not just the telco anymore, but an ecosystem of many different companies, which we call the Globe Group, that are all fostering digital technologies. 917 Ventures has 20 businesses that it funds to do a lot of solutioning, right? Like e-commerce, customer loyalty, reward system for other companies and for other customers. Consulta is a telehealth app which democratizes telemedicine, personal care, right? Before you go to a hospital, how much do you pay a doctor? You pay a doctor for consultation fees of about maybe 1,500 or 2,000 pesos per consultation. But with Consulta MD, you're just paying it with how much? 60 pesos? So that really brought the prices down and made the services more available to as many customers as possible. And obviously, GCash now has grown into 46 million registered users with a 3 trillion gross transaction volume. So what used to be cash going about is now GCash, right? Including sari-sari stores. So there is now a move from Globe to be able to digitize even the sari-sari stores using EasyPay. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the ecosystem, right? And we're very happy that all of the investments that we are doing have also resulted in awards, in recognition, especially in the case of 5G, where we are the 5G network of choice. And in the case of network consistency, we are also the leader in network consistency. Next, please. Now, let's go to the people-centric digital initiatives, right? Dindo earlier mentioned education. There's a lot of things going on in the sector, in the education sector. And we're very happy that, DepEd has been very open in terms of partnering with private institutions like ourselves. So we have Global Filipino Schools that is available in all 17 regions in the country, which actually teaches 21st century learning. So aside from giving schools, these are public schools, right? Aside from giving them the materials or the tools they need, like computers, etc., and data allocation, we are also training the teachers to be more digitally savvy, right? And the training of teachers, especially now in the case of the pandemic, does not just cover curriculum, right? Whatever the usual curriculum, but also mental health. And we've also recognized that parents have a role in terms of distance learning. And we're building an IT academy in partnership with LaSalle. So we are co-creating a Technopreneurship 101 module with DLSU. We feel that at this point in time, we should really start pushing a lot of the STEM education out, because we feel that STEM education will really create the future. If we have more CIOs, if you have more CTIOs, if you have more students involved in IT and technology. Next slide. So we go to online safety. So as more and more children and more people do go to the internet to do their work, to do their study, etc., entertainment, we also need to understand that there are certain responsibilities when we go to online. And this is the digital thumbprint program, which the DepEd has accommodated and adopted, to be part of the K-12 curriculum. We're very happy with this and very proud of this, because digital thumbprint program has 5 different modules that allows students, young people, to understand how to do online responsibly. So we've already reached more than 1 million students which has completed the program, and we have more and more trainers available being ambassadors of the digital thumbprint program. One of the key impact of DTP is talking about internet addiction, talking about cyberbullying as well, right? And as another item that DTP is looking at is data privacy, how to protect your own privacy, right? As a kid, as a child, right? So next slide, please. Again, on children, we are fighting online sexual abuse of children and, of course, piracy. So with this one, we have partnered with several international organizations like the C3P, the Canadian Center for Child Protection, and the Interwatch Foundation, and also UNICEF. Aside from those, we've partnered with AVIA, the Asia Video Industry Association, and the Coalition Against Piracy, for us to be able to do site blocking, right? And identifying which sites actually carry this kind of illegal content. So today, we are looking at additional investments to do URL blocking to the tune of $2.6 million. Next slide. This is my final slide. In the case of Globe, we're all practicing sustainability in the company, right? And we're very happy because a lot of the things that I talked about has to do with one of the pillars of sustainability, which is to create a digital nation and to care for people, right? And with all of the things that we have done that provide social impact to many, many people, we are able to get this kind of ESG ratings from the different rating agencies. We disclose our to the CDP, our environment impact, and we got an A rating at the MSCI, and also with Moody's, we were ranked among the top 100 best emerging market performers. Just a final point, Globe has now, we know that Globe is a signatory to the UNGC, but I believe that we are the first company to sign off to the Science-Based Target Initiative alongside with the TCFD. So the practice of having SBTI is for us to be able to commit and hit the target of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mami Oli. Yeah, I think the point that stuck out to me most was the common theme was the evolving conversations, the evolving policies and services being offered, and solutions as well that are now available in terms of helping address our digital readiness gaps that we see here in our country. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have our next speaker. Our next speaker is Attorney Roy Ibay, who's the Vice President for Legal and Regulatory Affairs at Smart Communications. Attorney Roy Ibay will be talking about Smart Communications, digital infra expansion, and digital literacy initiatives. I think it's only fair that, I mean, we had Globe, and now we're gonna have Smart talk about their initiatives as well. Attorney Roy.
Hi, good morning.
Hi,
Good morning, Morning, Sec.
Well, I can do this only to Brad. So, may I make one quick comment after Yoli's presentation? Actually, we are encouraged, we are inspired, we are happy, we are blessed that, I don't know, maybe for once, and this has been an emphasis for us, harnessing the power of private-public partnership, convergence, we are now all waving the Philippine flag. Thank you so much for that privilege. Quick remark. Salamat, Brad. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sec. Thank you also, Attorney Ibay, for allowing Sec Nasan to jump in.
Yes.
Back to you, po. Back to you.
Yes. May I ask that my presentation, if Christina can upload it, please?
Yeah, sure. We'll work on that.
So, good morning, Honorable Secretary Greg Honasan, Professor Dindo Manhit, Mr. Orly Oxales, Ms. Bowie Bonifacio, Ms. Claire Amador, Mr. Christian Reyes, Ms. Joanna Rodriguez, Ms. Yoli Crisanto, Mr. Paco Pangalangan, friends, ladies and gentlemen. So first, thank you for inviting Pldt Smart to this distinguished event in order for us to share some of our initiatives that will support digital empowerment for digital literacy. So, digital empowerment simply means maximizing one's own potential through digital technology. And for organizations, what is digital empowerment and how do you achieve it? In simplest terms, it is taking control of your digital agenda rather than being controlled by the outside digital world. It is developing digital mastery in your particular sector. It is in practice digital transformation. For telecom service providers such as Pldt and Smart, I believe that digital empowerment is inextricably linked to empowering the digital citizen. Telecom service providers should be enablers to provide avenues for digital literacy. Being human in the digital world is about building a digital world for humans. In the real world, being a good citizen means doing unto others or treat others the way you want to be treated. In the digital world, it's to tweet others the way you want to be tweeted. So what is a digital citizen? A digital citizen is a person using information technology in order to engage in society, politics, and government. As defined by Karen Mossberger, one of the authors of Digital Citizenship, the Internet Society and Participation, digital citizens are those who use the internet regularly and effectively. They also have a comprehensive understanding of digital citizenship, which is the appropriate and responsible behavior when using technology. According to the Council of Europe, digital citizenship refers to the ability to engage positively, critically, and competently in the digital environment, drawing on the skills of effective communication and creation to practice forms of social participation that are respectful of human rights and dignity through the responsible use of technology. So a more elaborate definition of digital citizenship is the competent and positive engagement with digital technologies in creating, working, sharing, socializing, investigating, playing, communicating, and learning, participating actively and responsibly in the values, skills, attitudes, and knowledge in communities, both local or national and global at all levels, whether political, economic, social, cultural, and intercultural, and being involved in the double process of lifelong learning, informal, and non-formal settings, and continuously defending human dignity. So where does SMART and PLDT currently contribute in the process of improving the state of digital citizenship in the country? First and foremost, we enable the rollout of the digital infrastructure where the shaping of the digital minds of the digital citizen takes place. And as more and more public and private organizations create digital presence, this too would be vital as they take their place in the digital world. So for the PLDT group, we commit that we will continue to have massive network investments. We have invested over 260 billion pesos in the past 5 years. In 2019, we invested 73 billion, which represented about 45% of our total service revenues. And in 2021, we commit to invest up to 92 billion pesos. As of August, our physical sites for the wireless, meaning our towers, have already reached about 10,753 sites. 95% have 3G and LTE presence. And for our base stations, as of August, we have a total of 71,044. And this is breaking down as follows: 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. In terms of fiber footprint, as of August, we have already rolled out about 555,106 cable kilometers, and have also activated about 3.82 million ports, fiber to the home capacity, and passed over 12.17 million homes. In mobile, in terms of speed, as of August, the Philippines ranked 72nd already. We moved up 3 slots out of 139 in global ranking, while it ranks 15th in Asia. SMART has a national speed of 48.18 Mbps for download and 10.38 Mbps for upload. SMART would have ranked 5th in Southeast Asia. I'm sorry, SMART would have ranked 4th in Southeast Asia and 5th in the Philippines ranks 5th out of 10 countries. PLDT, the Philippines ranks 63rd out of 183 in global ranking, while it ranks 17th in Asia PLDT has a national speed of 91.28 Mbps for download and 97.46 Mbps for upload. With PLDT will have ranked 5th in Southeast Asia, but currently updated. I'm sorry. As of August, we will have ranked already 3rd in Southeast Asia. The wireless population coverage covers about 96% of the Philippines, with an average Philippine PH download speed of 48 Mbps. We are present in 95% of cities and municipalities. And in Metro Manila, we have an average speed of 32.8 download speed. Now, in terms of digital literacy and the safety and online safety and anti-exploitation of children, the PLDT group, as of end of June 2021, has already blocked almost 30,000 URLs with explicit content involving children. More than 9,000 of these are active URLs, while over 20,000 have already expired, which the group has purged out of the system. In the second half of June alone, sorry, let me. Can I go back to the other slide, please? May I move back to the previous slide, please?
Oh, may technical difficulties tayo, Attorney Ibay. Ayan.
Okay, thank you. So, for digital literacy programs, the PLDT group has several literacy programs that help bridge the digital divide. First, we have the School in a Bag, which helps provide last-mile schools access to technology, connectivity, content. We also have the Digital Farmers Program, which ushers in smallholders, farmers into the digital economy via ladderized ICT training. And also we have the Digital Retailers Program, which helps upskill our retailers and our partners and enable them for ICT training. And also we partner with several smart cooperatives to help digitize them through ICT training. The components of the School in a Bag programs, actually, we provide them or enable them to have a mobile digital classroom. So the contents of a School in a Bag has one laptop for the teacher. It also contains 10 4G tablets for students, one pocket Wi-Fi with an initial load. We have applications for content. We provide them with ICT training. We provide them with STEM pedagogy and application contents, and also program evaluation. So far, as of August, we have 301 bags deployed, 88,799 students reached, 4,690 teachers trained, 13,628 trained on the distance learning program, 175,287 students reached by the distance learning program, and 578,093 web forum views. I just like also wanted to add that last year we were able to whitelist the DepEd education portal, where students and teachers free of charge can access the website of DepEd and download education modules that they can use on their online education. So for the Digital Farmers Program, we provide a series of ICT trainings for farmers to improve their digital skills and knowledge to help increase their livelihood. These were implemented in partnership with the Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Training Institute, DA, and Training Institute. As of end August 2021, there are about 1,581 farmers and youth trained. 72 DFP training rollouts commenced. So before I move on, I'd just like to stress that there is a crisis right now in literacy and education. At the Senate Basic Education Committee hearing last August, the Coordinating Council of Private Educational Association of Philippines, the COCOPEA, mentioned that only 201,147 students have enrolled in private schools, considering that classes have already started for school year 2021-2022. And this is far from the over 2 million enrollees that private schools had last year. Noting that last year alone, the 2 million already represented a 50% decline from the previous year, or in 2019. And then in the public schools, based on the data from the DepEd, there are at least 865 small private schools in the country which faced closures due to low enrollment and inability to meet the requirements to conduct distance learning. As of last week, for public schools, there are some 2 million of last year's students have yet to enroll. Data from the DepEd showed that 24 billion public and private school students have registered, but this figure only represents 93%. So there are still more than 2 million students that have not enrolled, based on last year's figure alone. And this is why, with the proliferation of online learning, the Pldt group commits to elevate the Philippines to world-class standards. For this year, we endeavor to commit that the minimum average broadband speed for mobile, at least in Metro Manila, should reach about 30 Mbps. For fixed, the minimum average speed of 20 Mbps, and to move legacy copper subscribers migrated to fiber and fiber-like services. We intend that 18% of all these copper subscribers be migrated by end of 2020, 85% by end of 2021, and 100% by mid of 2022. And for 2022, we intend that 51% of the population for mobile be already at the speed of 60 Mbps. By 2023, 70% of the population at 60 Mbps, 80% at 60 Mbps by 2024, and by 2025, at least 84% of our population will be at 60 Mbps. So moving forward, 91 Mbps for fixed network this year. In 2021, for the first 6 months, Pldt Smart has been awarded the fastest 5G mobile network. And then also the wireless network, we are the fastest now at Smart's average download speed of 48 Mbps is higher than the average, Philippine average of 33 Mbps. Umlaut, a third-party provider, has awarded Smart in the Best in Test award, and OpenSignal has awarded Smart in the first quarter of 2021 as the best in 3 categories: best in coverage, speed, and experience, and better than competition and national average. So in order to sustain this momentum, government must continue to provide a healthy, reasonable, and balanced regulatory environment amidst this pandemic. So we would like to appeal to government to please extend Bayanihan 2 so that the enforcement and extend ease of build and roll out regulations, to incentivize rollout in unserved and underserved areas, to continue undertaking reforms in regulatory fee structures, such as the spectrum cost, and in the case of data privacy and cybersecurity, to introduce specialized appellate courts in ICT law and regulations. So in closing, let me end with this quote. When digital transformation is done right, it's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. But when done wrong, all you have is a really fast caterpillar. While telcos enable the digital world by providing the necessary infrastructure, we must realize that each and every one of us must play a part in the process of digitally empowering ourselves as a digital citizen to build a strong digital nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Roy. So that was a great talk. You know, one of the, I think what stuck to me most was how you were saying, and as well with Ma'am Yoli's presentation, that it's not about just speed anymore, right? I mean, the speed's there. You showed it in the speed tests. It's not about just the infra in many areas, right? Because the speed is there, the infra is there, and it's more of how we're using it, right? And how we can maximize it further. Of course, there's room to improve, and that's why I think you mentioned the need for government policy to really foster that that environment that really promotes innovation. So yeah, thanks Attorney Roy for sharing those points. Next up, we have actually a speaker from Facebook. We have Ms. Claire Amador, who's the public policy head for Facebook Philippines. Ms. Amador was previously working with the Office of the Vice President and was with was an undersecretary for the Department of Budget and Management. She was not able to attend in person today, but she did send over a video, which we will be playing shortly.
Good morning. I am Claire Amador, Head of Public Policy for Facebook Philippines. I would like to thank strat-based ADRi for inviting us here to talk about Facebook's various initiatives to help address the challenges in digital readiness in our country. When this meme parody of Maslow's hierarchy of needs came out on Instagram 6 years ago, few may have foreseen that a pandemic would make the internet a basic core need overnight. As lockdown swept the globe, our survival suddenly lies at the add to basket button to access food, water, if not oxygen tanks, transacted via e-commerce. Our safety and security rely on the now ubiquitous QR codes and the virtual contact tracing systems built by businesses and governments, and then we shifted to telehealth to access healthcare. Our social needs have shown resilience as we move our interactions with family and friends via messaging apps and social media, still staying connected while physically apart. And we continue to aspire to live and work by shifting to remote work and virtual school learning. The pandemic compelled people to use the internet more and for a wider range of activities than ever before. The internet's ability to foster societal resilience in the face of the pandemic is a cause for celebration. More than half of the world's population is now connected. Hootsuite reports that of the 7.83 billion people globally, 66% are mobile phone users, 59.5% have access to the internet, while 53.6% are active in the social networks. Speaking of social media, the Global Web Index shines the spotlight on us Filipinos as the world's biggest consumers of social networking sites, spending an average of 4 hours and 15 minutes per day in these platforms. Of the 173 million mobile users, 73 million Filipinos are connected online, spending an average of 10 hours per day, more than the global average. Since the roaring 90s, with the emergence of web browsers and commercial applications for the internet, digital citizenship has become an emerging state of play. Moving beyond being a buzzword then, the pandemic paved the way for digital citizenship to become the new way of life with some urgency. Karen Mossberger, in her book in 2008, defined digital citizenship as the ability to participate in society online. Like many others, she contends that digital citizenship encourages what has elsewhere been called social inclusion. The book assessed the benefits of inclusion in society online and how it matters for economic advancement and civic engagement. But more importantly, it laid out the high cost of digital exclusion in our new economy. But why is digital citizenship important? Digital citizenship cultivates positive and healthy relationships. It keeps everyone connected with family, friends, and loved ones. Digital citizenship can unlock economic opportunities. Tech skills are critical for wages among disadvantaged workers. As for entrepreneurs, it provides opportunities to realize exponential growth in their business and better value to their customers. Digital citizenship also enables civic engagement and participation. It provides individuals greater access to news and information, opportunity to engage with others, and participate in public discourse. Without question, information technology has secured its place in our society. However, access is still a question, hence the term digital divide. Bringing this digital divide has never been as urgent now, with half of the world population remaining out of coverage area. Echoing science fiction author William Gibson, who said, "The future is already here, it's just not very evenly distributed." Facebook invested resources on analytical work to track the state of the world's internet inclusion. In its fifth year, we commissioned the Economist Intelligence Unit to cover the Inclusive Internet Index and build a time series of important data to track internet inclusion across 100 countries that make up over 93% of the world's GDP. If you'd like to access the full report, you can scan the QR code in this slide. In its 2021 report, data has shown a stubborn digital divide preventing billions of people, most prominently in low-income and lower middle-income countries, from enjoying the full benefits that the internet has to offer. Here is a snapshot of the categories in the Inclusive Internet Index. This index measures whether the internet is accessible, affordable, and relevant to all, which are predictors of social and economic mobility. It can be used to plan or advocate for connectivity and social inclusion. On the overall Inclusive Internet Index, the Philippines ranks at number 68. Overall, how did we fare in each category? On availability, or the quality and breadth of available infrastructure required for access and levels of internet usage, we rank 60th. On affordability, which is the cost of access relative to income and the level of competition in the internet marketplace, we rank 79th. On relevance, or the existence and extent of local language content and relevant content, we rank 64th. On readiness, which is the capacity to access the internet, including skills, cultural acceptance, and supporting policy, we lag far behind at 80th. As part of our mission at Facebook to build community and bring the world closer together, we designed initiatives to address these challenges. With regard to availability and affordability, we work on projects to improve infrastructure and to support local mobile operators. We also design products to help lower the cost of accessing important online services and help bring more people online. On the relevance front, we are improving existing services and building new relevant services such as social commerce, video and gaming programs, and setting up language support on the Facebook family of apps to grow local content. And lastly, we are working to build the readiness of communities to participate in the internet economy through digital literacy and digital marketing programs, and also by building trust and safety features in our products. Please allow me to share a little bit more of the work that we are doing together with our partners in the Philippines. We have a wide portfolio of connectivity initiatives in partnership with local internet service providers and mobile operators for the delivery of these services. First, Facebook is one of the partners in the PLCN system and have worked closely with the ICT and BCDA on landing the subsea cable in the Philippines. Second, we have the Telegraph, which provides fast and affordable last-mile backhaul in areas where fiber is cost prohibitive. We are currently piloting this with the Quezon City government. We also have Express Wi-Fi, which incentivizes internet service providers to invest in Wi-Fi networks where they are not economically sustainable. We also partner with mobile operators to offer options for Filipinos to access Facebook and the internet without data charges. Many people remain unconnected or underconnected because they can't afford to have data consistently. To help bridge this gap, we provide text-only Facebook, which helps users who have run out of data balance to remain connected and access important text-based information on Facebook, including COVID-19 updates and education information. We also built Discover, which is an app and web browser that allows people to browse any site on the internet. We are currently running 2 economic impact programs for MSMEs that are tied to our ultimate goal of shaping the Filipino digital entrepreneur. That is, a Filipino entrepreneur who is digitally skillful, financially literate, and is an empowered, informed, and responsible digital citizen. Due to the pandemic in 2020, we shifted our programs from in-person to online training and reoriented its components to address the unique business challenges posed by the current health crisis. Our first program, Boost with Facebook, provides MSMEs with tools, training, and events to help their businesses grow and equip them with the skills for the digital economy. This includes online mentoring and modules on well-being, mental wellness, and business resiliency. Next is She Means Business. As part of our commitment to advance women economic empowerment, we help unlock the potential of women entrepreneurs through skills training and business inspiration. We equip them with knowledge on how to develop their own business and financial plans and access financial support from governments and financial service providers. Last July, we launched our partnership with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the Department of Trade and Industry to conduct webinar sessions on business resiliency through financial education, which we dubbed Usapang Negosyo at Pinansyal. As of December 2020, we have trained over 32,000 MSMEs in 55 provinces in the Philippines. To better understand the perspectives, challenges, and opportunities of MSMEs around the world, Facebook also conducted the Digital Tools SMB survey in August 2020 in 17 countries, including the Philippines. In the study, we saw that MSMEs have increased their use of social media, online messaging, and digital payment channels, and we expect to continue this increased usage of digital tools even beyond the pandemic. These insights are critical for us to continue to support MSMEs as they bounce back from the devastating effects of the pandemic. Aside from our economic programs, we also have other initiatives to improve internet relevance by providing our community with helpful information to keep them safe through our COVID-19 work. As access to vaccines expands, we continue to work closely with global and national health authorities, including the DOH, to make it easy for people to find authoritative COVID-19 and vaccine information across Facebook's apps. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have connected over 2 billion people to resources from health authorities to our COVID-19 Information Center and pop-ups on Facebook and Instagram. We also support humanitarian organizations through our Data for Good program, which includes disaster maps that provide anonymized information about where populations are located, how they are moving, and where they are checking in safe during a natural disaster. In this program, we work with the Philippine Red Cross, Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, UNICEF, and UNDP to help them in their disaster response. In the time of COVID, we've also provided researchers and public health officials with real-time data and tools to help inform disease forecasting and understand the effectiveness of prevention measures. Through this program, we have partnered with the UP Resilience Institute, who leveraged our tools to support their COVID-19 response. In the area of readiness, we invest in digital literacy through Digital Tayo. This is our flagship program to build the capacity of our community on foundational digital skills, such as safety, privacy, empathy, and digital discernment towards a safe and positive online environment. This program covers topics around building healthy online relationships, as well as community and civic engagement to activate youth organizations that can help us reach marginalized and vulnerable communities, including Indigenous groups, members of the LGBT+ community, human rights defenders, children, overseas workers, and persons with disability. This has become critical now as Filipinos spend more time online, making this a shared goal and commitment together with our partners from civil society and the public and private sectors. Also, in partnership with the Philippine Association for Colleges and Universities, Habi Education Lab, Teach for the Philippines, and other educational institutions, we also develop new resources to help educators integrate digital literacy in the school curriculum. After 2 years, we have trained over 400,000 Filipinos through face-to-face workshops. We also have 2,200 trainers to cascade the modules to their communities. And during the pandemic, we have reached over 5 million Filipinos online, since we moved program execution to social media and conducted webinars and campaigns online. The pandemic may have put the digital divide on the spotlight, but it also revealed how work, social interaction, education, and healthcare may look like in the near future. Now more than ever, the need for internet inclusion as well as digital readiness and empowerment are more urgent and essential if we are to ensure that no one in our community is left behind. The challenges and opportunities now lie in our capacity to innovate and welcome innovation and technology, to allow it to flourish instead of constricting it, to welcome it as part of our everyday life and work with it. Opportunities abound to make this happen. First, we must continue to invest in connectivity. The lack of fiber deployments remains a key bottleneck in many countries. We at Facebook still continue to support connectivity programs in the Philippines and continue to work with the DICT and support our private sector partners. Second, let's make digital citizenship education mainstream and possibly include it in the school curriculum. As more people and services go online, all the more should we ramp up efforts to ensure that internet users develop skills at appropriate, responsible, and empowered use of technology. We at Facebook will continue to shift our digital citizenship programs to where people are and provide our community with on-the-go education resources. We also need to keep working on business equality. Gender parity is improving over the long term, but the gap is not closing fast enough in regions with the worst inequality. On our part, Facebook will continue to work with different government agencies, NGOs, and CSOs to expand the She Means Business program in the Philippines. Last, but very important, we must create an enabling policy environment. We applaud the commitment of government agencies like the DTI and the ICT to improve economic recovery through digital transformation. However, we recognize that we must strengthen a policy environment that supports the Philippines' digital transformation and allows small, medium businesses and digital platforms to grow and innovate. A balanced and proportional regulatory framework that is developed in consultation with stakeholders is key. We must also acknowledge that the one-size-fits-all approach cannot reflect the nuances of this emerging future. But we know that the challenge of seizing these opportunities entails all of us working together, strengthening collaboration among sectors and stakeholders. Looking back at the work we did and where we are heading, one thing is clear. The triumph of our work is not so much ours at Facebook. We owe the success of these efforts to the collective effort of committed orgs and individuals who persisted to bring about positive change and realize progress for their community. Much like in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the basic human needs are supplied not by a singular entity, but by the community and society we all live in. This, after all, is what this forum is about: fostering digital empowerment, welcoming stakeholders from different sectors, from government, CSO, academe, and private sector, into a community that works together towards building a brighter digital future, one full of hope and ability, no matter the challenges. Thank you, everyone, and a good day to you all.
All right. So that was Claire from Facebook. Yeah, one thing she mentioned earlier that Filipinos spend the most time on the internet in the world. I don't think she mentioned how many hours of that we spend on Facebook and other social media platforms. I'm sure it's a lot, and that's why I'm also glad that Facebook is so actively pushing for this digital citizenship, given the important role it plays in our economic recovery and shaping political discussions online as well, especially as 2022 comes is just around the corner. But anyway, so thanks. That was Claire Amador from Facebook. Next up, we have our next speaker. Our next speaker is Ms. Joanna Rodriguez, who is the Public Sector Director for Microsoft Philippines, where she's been working for over 14 years. Prior to her current position, she had also served as Microsoft's National Technology Officer and an account manager. Before that, she was an assistant secretary of the presidential management staff from 2004 to 2007. So Ma'am Joanna Rodriguez, the floor is yours, po. Ooh.
Can you hear me, Paco?
There we go. Yes, now we can hear you. I was right there for a bit.
Can you confirm that you can see my slides?
We can see your slides as well.
Thank you very much. So, Secretary Gregorio Honasan, Honorable Secretary of the DICT, Professor Dindo Manhit, President of Strat-Based ADRi Institute, and the entire Strat-Based team that put this together, to all of our esteemed partners and colleagues in industry and government, good morning to everyone. Today, as we look at fostering a digital empowerment agenda for recovery and competitiveness, allow me to share some of the interventions and vision of Microsoft Philippines for the future. Our mission is pretty simple: to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. Now, this mission takes on many forms across the company's different groups and subsidiaries, but the ways in which we put this into practice are consistent with one goal, and that's to serve our customers in the ways that they need it best. This is what we call purpose-driven digital, solving real societal problems with technology. In And we've, been working, long been working with governments around the world. And by being a global company, we bring our experience and knowledge to the work that we do with the Philippine government. In the context of the global crisis, it has really been around, these three things: supporting health agencies and first responders to more quickly and efficiently tackle the health crisis. From a social perspective, we've been focusing on individuals to collaborate to build a new resilient and sustainable society. Finally, we've been working to support the economic recovery by empowering various different government agencies, commercial businesses, and individuals to better face the crisis and anticipate and prepare for what Secretary Honasan was saying, the new normal. In the Philippines specifically, our mission really means how we're empowering the nation through ICT innovation and creating a safer and stronger Philippines through reliable governance. You've heard us say this many times, but our CEO, Satya Nadella, commented during the beginning of the pandemic that we saw 2 years of transformation in 2 months. And this could not be any truer in the Philippines. And government, we saw as a whole, had to undergo accelerated technology adoption to be able to continue to deliver citizen services. Now, with this, really came a strong resolve from government to transform the Philippines and make it fully digitized by 2022. And this is precisely also our vision of empowering the nation through ICT innovation, the one that we continue to support and we will continue to support. In the last 18 months alone, for example, Microsoft Philippines has partnered with the Supreme Court to hold virtual legal proceedings with Microsoft 365. And with this support and partnership with the Supreme Court, we've run more than 250,000 virtual hearings to date, resulting in more than 90,000 persons denied of their liberties released from prison in what the Supreme Court calls digitally enabled justice. We're serving more than 9.5 million unique users on DepEd's DepEd Commons online learning platform, and we've provided 18 million free Office 365 software to students, which DepEd is distributing to its 47,000 schools. We've supported our frontline coalition by empowering the PNP and AFP with secure communications and collaboration tools. Working with the DICT, DOST, and Developers Connect PH, we created Rapid Pass and Trace COVID.ph solutions very early on in the pandemic. And also with the partnership that we have with the DICT, more than 800 LGUs are actually now using critical applications to make cities and municipalities run in this new normal. As the country pushes on with its vaccination efforts, it's important that national government agencies see a real-time view of all of the efforts from thousands of vaccination centers, either LGU run or accredited health center-led around the country. And we support the DOH to create the vaccination quick count dashboard, which the operations center uses for daily reporting. So these are some of the examples of the interventions we've had specific to the COVID crisis. I think I might be preaching to the choir here when I say that ICT is critical in the path to recovery. But what's important for us to be thinking about is how we should embrace a new way of thinking, behaving, and working. A culture of innovation and growth mindset are at the core of any digital transformation journey. And all of it really starts with a strong push from leaders like Secretary Honasan and our other leaders in government. Employees need to be encouraged, empowered, and more importantly, incentivized to innovate. And if we decide that we will embrace digital opportunities, we have to accept that we should acquire new digital skills to support all of these public and corporate moves to put services online and make them all digital. Finally, we need to reimagine and redesign organizational structures. And this will be key to supporting future of work and increasing productivity regardless of where we're working from. Long before the pandemic, the government had already envisioned that cloud computing was to become the preferred technology for government services. And we saw this with investments in GovCloud and the cloud first policy, for example. This mandate will be of great importance, especially as the future of work begins to take shape post-pandemic. Empowered by and in support of these policies and investments of government, at Microsoft, we continue to aim to foster innovation that will create ecosystems even greater than the platforms that we provide. And with our cloud offering integration and security across every layer of our product, from productivity tools that support hybrid work scenarios to infrastructure services that make government online services more agile and pervasive, all the way to, say, data and AI that provide insights for better decision-making on policy and program interventions. We provide government agencies and commercial businesses the flexibility to design systems that are suited for their current needs, but also allowing them to design more complex systems over time. We also created what we called Microsoft Industry Clouds, and we see this as a launchpad for further innovations by bringing together common data models, APIs, workflows, industry-specific components and standards on top of the breadth of Microsoft Cloud services. And through these industry cloud offerings, we aim to empower everyone to drive and deliver faster value and adapt quickly to the changing conditions as they build for the future and do all of this with security at the core. Our vision to empower the nation through ICT innovation both underscores and implies the need to reimagine today's systems through technology. And this can only be done if our innovations work to complement policies of government and vice versa. As such, we at Microsoft are working through several fronts to make digital adoption easier and more sustainable. 3 focus areas have been on the rise and will continue to rise. Digital commerce and digital governance, they were all meaningfully and visibly eating into the traditional sales of brick and mortar stores. But what the coronavirus has done is really accelerate a change in consumer habits and citizen expectations in the way they engage with government. So considering this change of behavior requires new approaches. Maybe it's IoT devices or robust case management systems. In telemedicine, Teladoc, for example, Teladoc Health in the US has seen the doubling of their doctors in their network to thousands and thousands. In Great Britain, the Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust is using HoloLens to keep doctors safe as they help patients with COVID-19. In Asia Pacific, as well as the Philippines, we are reimagining access to healthcare at this point. What this means for government and businesses is the continued need to improve citizen and customer experience in the virtual space. Some of our panelists here was talking about bots already being used to immediately answer and record information from the beginning all the way to the end of interactions, like the Microsoft Healthcare bot, for example, that's being used by the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The use of IoT Edge for surveillance and correction in cities on local transports, hospitals, etc. In the area of telemedicine, improved customer patient experience is needed to make the experience closer to in-person health delivery, application of, say, augmented reality, virtual companions, and the like. In 2019, the Asia Cloud Computing Society had already said that the Philippines is actually one of the most forward-looking governments in terms of adopting cloud computing. However, one of the major barriers that we see is really around the accreditation policy when it came to cloud procurement. So for us, to be able to become a cloud-first nation, we will need to look into reforming fiscal, budgeting, and cloud procurement policies so that we can procure and implement cloud projects at scale. Given the policies, the government should also consider looking at establishing a framework focused on evaluating cloud providers' capabilities around security, privacy, reliability, and overall compliance with national regulations and laws that are already out there. And in the same vein, it's also necessary for private and public sectors to establish a digital trust framework to ensure the uptake and adoption of online services that are being introduced by government and businesses. Citizens need to trust the services for these services to become successful and pervasive. A study from IDC showed that citizens have identified security, privacy, and compliance as the elements most considered by Filipinos when transacting online. The same study said that 44% of these Filipinos feel that government should take the lead in building such trust, while 35% have indicated that the responsibility falls on the tech companies. This further drives the point and the need for private and public sector to continue working together to ensure that technology and policy are being developed hand in hand. Finally, redesigning service delivery. This might mean breaking down traditional departmental and agency hierarchies and boundaries for decision making and rethinking models of accountability and incentives for government workers, as new technologies offer the convenience and the opportunity to introduce efficiency and better citizen services. Government can also start rethinking about maybe performance-based measurements over time, over the traditional way we're looking at it now, which is time served in the office. I said earlier that driving innovation requires new skills. So along with the many IT innovation projects that we have built with government, is also a commitment to helping them acquire digital skills to support these new systems. And we've served over 640,000 learners in the last 18 months alone. And to build on this achievement, we have numerous partnerships with different national government agencies to upskill up to 800,000 government employees and up to 5 million students for economic development and inclusive growth in the next 2 years. Now, more than ever, everybody, government, private sector, and all of its partners, we need to act with urgency, activate partnerships and collaboration at scale to enable innovation where it matters. It's our responsibility to ensure inclusive access, leveraging technology and empowering people with the necessary skills to thrive in this digital era that we are now experiencing. As leaders, we all have a historic responsibility and opportunity to act. Here in the Philippines, as we have for the past 25 years, Microsoft is committed to joining hands with organizations and communities across public and private sectors to help empower positive outcomes today and for the near future. The Microsoft commitment, through a plan that we like to call Para sa Bayan, intends to empower the nation by impacting 25 million Filipinos together through these 4 main thrusts. And it's an exciting time for the Philippines as we, set forth on this path to embrace digital technology further. We all have an enormous role to play in the nation's future, and we're excited to embark on this journey with all of you. Thank you and have a pleasant day, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Joanna. Yeah, I loved how you mentioned the importance of that shift in mindset in organizations and in leadership. And I think, you related it greatly with You related it best with how the government and Microsoft has partnered for some, to implement really reliable and trustworthy solutions, but how, of course, there's still a need to for policy reforms to hasten adoption even further. But yeah, great point. So thanks so much for that. Yeah, thank you, Joanna. I'll move now. Thanks. Yeah, I'll move on to our next speaker for today. Next up, we have Mr. Christian Edmund Reyes. Mr. Ian Reyes has been the managing director since November 2019 of HP Philippines, where he has been a part, which he has been a part of for the last 15 years. Prior to HP, he was with Zed and Globe Telecom. So that's interesting. So hi, Christian. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, thank you, Paco. Yeah, thank you for the warm introduction. Good morning, Sec Kodnasan, Dindo, and entire Strat-based team. Thank you for the invitation to be able to share today. I love how all the speakers have been sharing how their respective companies from Globe, Smart, Facebook, Microsoft have been playing a key part in making a positive impact to the Philippines. Good morning also to all my fellow speakers, to all the participants. I hope you and your families continue to be safe. We've seen that technology adoption come about in new innovative ways. For some, it was about learning to shift their business to an online model overnight. Or like most of us, suddenly the need to suddenly have to enable a remote workforce suddenly dispersed by all the lockdowns. And for others, it was as basic as how they would optimize their processes and finance to keep their businesses running. The pandemic has dramatically changed every aspect of our life, the way we work, the way we live, and the way we learn. And technology, which is a company I'm part of, right, has become very vital in how different industries and sectors adopt and survive. And today, I hope to share our insights as an expertise as a technology company on how we support our customers and partners in their digital transformation journey, to also ensure how their business and their recovery and sustainability happens during this time. Just going back, right, to the impact of HP in the Philippines, right? We've had a couple of initiatives led by HP to help address the digital readiness challenges. These include the BPO and SMB segment, and also education. Right? The BPO industry is one of the biggest and most important customers for HP and also for the Philippine economy. Work from anywhere arrangement was a critical pivot for this segment at the start of the lockdown. And we all remember how we had to scramble, suddenly working from home, having the need to have the right devices to help us perform our work. And as a technology provider, we were able to support our BPO customers sudden shift to remote work. The remote work set up at the start of the lockdown and play a crucial role in helping them maintain their continuity. It was a dramatic shift, and our technology helped them with this transition. And it wasn't just about providing them with the necessary hardware and devices. It was also providing our BPO customers with the confidence of reliable customer service to help them minimize any business disruption in their service levels. They face a lot of pressure from all their global customers and their SLAs, right? So having the right technology, whether at the office or having the need to bring that technology at home, is very important to maintain that continuity. Right? Aside from providing just hardware, technology, and even great customer support, we also shared our knowledge and expertise on technology and innovation. Right? We provided our support through a couple of BPO webinars with guest speakers from IBPAP and CCAP, right, which focus on educating BPOs on the criticality of endpoint securities. And as we've all read, right, the cyber attacks have increased dramatically during the lockdowns, during the pandemic, especially since a majority of the workforce had been away from their corporate networks, and this increased their vulnerabilities. In those webinars, we also spoke about very important topics like sustainability and the radical pivot to rethink our take, make, and dispose consumption model, right? Especially on technology devices. A lot of companies usually just purchase and just forget about how the way they dispose these equipment. And for HP, we work with our customers and offer a service where we're able to take back, to dispose, or even recycle very important components of PCs, printers, and cartridges. We work with a with a partner of ours was certified to be able to dispose of them correctly and sustainably. Right? And as we continue to adopt our new normal, we believe there are three key ways technology can support business transition to new work environments. The first is harnessing collaboration and innovation to spearhead growth, powering freedom and flexibility to work from anywhere and anytime, just like most of us right now, and protecting an increasingly remote workforce and keeping them secure. We've also been supporting SMBs with our knowledge, expertise, and insights as they continue to navigate the challenges brought about by the pandemic. I'm sure this is a topic that also Grab will be talking about right after me. Right? We shared a lot of insights, and one of it is that HP released a study called Survival to Revival, which focused on SMBs in Asia Pacific during the new normal. And we used the study to derive insights and provide practical and relevant support as these SMBs move past the stage of survival to revive their business. And some of our key findings are, first is, contrary to what most people had thought, right? Actually, 53% of SMBs expected not only to survive, but thrive. But they also realize, and that's where all of us play a key part, is that digital transformation is key to this revival. And many SMBs are also unclear where to seek advice for leveraging digital and technology to help them compete for future business, right? And based on our studies, right, a lot of SMBs usually end up getting digital advice from a lot of financial institutions because that's where most of their relationships are, right? And they're unable to somehow reach technology companies, and that's where we want to be able to play a key part, especially in the Philippines. One of the common theme, right, that the speaker shared today, and the theme that we found, or the insight that we found in these studies, is that a lot of SMB owners recognize the need to upskill or hire the right talent with relevant new skills in their team. Especially the pandemic has really fast-tracked how we must all adopt, and it boils back down to every single employee of SMBs. But a lot of SMBs did not know how to go about this. And so this study is available online. Just look for HP Survival to Revival. It provides a lot of insights for SMBs, and that's a key focus for us in the Philippines. Right. Also, right, talking about upskilling, just like all the speakers shared, right, we also have a very important initiative to upskill and develop a competent and driven workforce in the Philippines. HP provides a global online training program called HP Life. Right? This program is especially for entrepreneurs and business owners to help them build skills. Right? This free training program includes very relevant courses for entrepreneurs, such as social media marketing, inventory management, business communication, basics of finance, and more. And upon completion, the participants get a certificate of completion from HP, right? This global program is available in more than 200 companies, and we have hundreds and thousands of learners globally. And this global platform of ours to educate businesses, entrepreneurs, is also widely and very much available in the Philippines. We also know that a lot of industries have been impacted across many sectors, and close to our heart is the impact to education, right? I love how the theme and the talk about the impact community and education, right? Addressing the digital divide has been a constant theme, right? From Nasan to Yoli, Attorney Roy, Claire, and Joanna, right? And the impact to education is a primary concern for us at HP. And we have been constantly advocating for improving quality education and accelerating digital equity for all Filipinos across the nation, right? And to support students and educators today, right, our HP Philippines teams has been strengthening efforts in delivering PC and print innovations designed to meet any school requirements. And we've also introduced HP Printables. It's also a global tool and platform where parents and children can download activities to make learning more fun, right? And one of the initiatives that, that's also something that's close to our heart, right, in the Philippines, HP Philippines, is partnering with NGOs, right? We partner with NGOs such as Childhood Philippines, Teach for the Philippines, Let's Read by ADRi Foundation, and Hands on Manila. Right? Childhood Philippines was our partner when we supported them with their Kali Escuela, right? To enable them to, and again, pre-pandemic, right? To be able for them to provide, a mobile van, right? To teach street children, right? And we provided them with equipment for that, right? And the 4 NGOs I mentioned, we worked with them, and through their partner of network schools across the country, right? We were able to reach thousands of students and teachers. We donated more than 400 units of HP Never Stop laser printers that enabled them to reproduce their learning materials, especially in remote areas where a full digital setup was not possible. One of the foundations that we were speaking to was sharing to us that they had to send a printer an island, which is a couple of boat rides away from Iloilo, right? And in that community, right, they had because they didn't have much of a full digital setup, right? And they were so appreciative of how this printer helped them print all their learning modules, right? Because their learning and education was disrupted, right, with COVID, right? And with them being able to produce, right, hundreds of learning packs, we were able to make a very positive impact to the community and their children's education. And back to insights to accelerate the ongoing digital transformation. We believe that supporting our SMEs is one of the best ways to accelerate the country's strong innovation capability. And just like what Secretary Honasan has been sharing, right? This is where the private sector, like where all the speakers come from, right? And the government continue to play an important part. For HP, we have been at the forefront of digital transformation. Right? In fact, in 2019, prior to the global health crisis, we already teamed up with Go Negosyo to help Filipino entrepreneurs adopt the skills and technology needed for a competitive and sustainable business. Fast forward to today, right? In the heat of the crisis, right? We've initiated several programs to help our partners with their transformation by accelerating their knowledge and capabilities by using technology. We work with over 100 channel partners across the Philippines who employ thousands of employees. One of the key programs that we have is what we call an HP Amplify program. This is for our channel program. This is our channel partner program. And in this program, aside from providing incentives for performance, we also want to help build the capabilities of our channel partners by providing them knowledge and tools of how to help them shift their business online. Some of the insights that we found, right, talking to a lot of our channel partners, is they're continually grappling with the knowledge to be able to help them, how to even put up their own e-commerce business and their websites, especially as technology partners. So with the Amplify program, right, we're able to give them the technical know-how how to do this. But just like a lot of SMBs, right, it's also not just about providing technology and know-how. One of the skills and learnings that we share in our Amplify program is helping our partners harness data or the insights from data. And with collaborative data and data analytics, we're able to help our partners tell them and understand what their current and future customer needs are, right? And the more they're able to know their customers with the data insights that we share, the more they're able to have a long-term profitable business with their customers. Part of our Amplify program with our channel partners is also called the HP Amplify Impact, right? The Philippines is actually one of the first countries, as part of the first countries to be a pilot for Amplify Impact program. Sustainability has been a very important value and a key part of HP globally, right? Our sustainability pillar focuses on people, planet, and community. And we just didn't want to do this as HP. We wanted to invite our whole partner network, right, to drive sustainability in the Philippines. We provide them with online tools and training to help them with their sustainability journey. We also work and partner with them for future sustainability impact initiatives. Another digital transformation that we've done also, it's a recently launched platform that we've launched in the Philippines, especially for smaller channel resellers across Philippines, especially outside Metro Manila, is a platform with peer connections where we allow, where we enable and allow our smaller partners to work directly with distributors. We help build a B2B platform where a lot of our partners outside Metro Manila suddenly had to learn and know how to appreciate the shift of doing B2B business, not just through a lot of phone calls, right, but now through a platform. And as I close, right, we've seen the need to look into how we could transform the way we collaborate, the way we approach things like productivity, data security, and sustainability in our business. Right? And just like many of the speakers have shared, technology has really been a key part of this acceleration, and even further on, right? With all the uncertainties in the global economy, technology will be very, very important for businesses to navigate the ongoing challenges and uncertainties that they face. And as HP in the Philippines, we will continue to be at the forefront of these challenges as we continue to support our partners and our customers to help them not only survive, but to thrive. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing on the different trainings and content that you guys are coming out with to support digital transformation. I think something that you in particular pointed out that hasn't been pointed out earlier is that it's not that you talked about companies, their role, government, but partners, educators, and civil society groups as well. And I think that really comes full circle and really shows just how much collaboration is central to this digital transformation that we are envisioning for the country. So thanks.
Thank you, Paco.
Thanks. So next up, and I gotta apologize ahead of time because our next speaker, Miss Bowie Bonifacio, was actually supposed to go ahead of you, Christian. But anyway, so now she will be finishing. She'll be our best for last speaker. So it's Bowie Bonifacio, the head of public affairs for Grab Philippines, and where she's been working for the past 4 years. Prior to Grab, she was assistant secretary for the Department of Transportation from 2013 to 2016. So Miss Bowie Bonifacio.
Thanks, Paco.
Hi.
Gosh, you gave me the hardest part of any event to be the last speaker. And also, I'm mindful that we are actually also over time. So I'll also try to keep it short. But yeah, no worries. I want to say good morning to everyone. Good morning, Secretary Honasan and other esteemed government officials, Dindo, the ADRi team, my fellow speakers, everyone who has dialed into this town hall. Good morning, everyone. So I just want to say that it was really heartening for me to hear about what everyone is doing. And more importantly, to know that everyone is actually thinking about the same issues in ensuring that no one gets left behind in this digital revolution. So I really feel personally inspired and hopeful. Claire of Facebook talked about hope, about the future that we are building together. And I hope after the presentation, I now know pala who I can turn to regarding the initiative that I am about to share. So just to begin the sharing that I want to do with you this morning is when we first received the invitation of Dindo. So I thought it would be such a good opportunity for us to share an initiative that we will be launching in a few days' time. So I'm actually very excited to give you a sort of a sneak peek into this initiative. But before I do that, let me share a bit of context. Next slide, please. So the pace of technology adoption in Southeast Asia was already very high pre-COVID, but it accelerated even more in the last year and a half. And as we pursue COVID economic recovery in the months and years to come, we need to understand two things. how digital transformation can help us not only to continue on a path of sustainable economic recovery, but that we do it in a more equitable way, ensuring that the dividends of growth are reaped by all Filipinos. So I think this is the common theme that everyone from Globe, Smart, and to Face to HP shared, that it's really a concern that everyone shouldn't be left behind. So this would require further understanding, discussion, and debate on the potentials and the risks of new technologies and how businesses that form around them need to interface with governments to ensure results lead to optimal social outcomes. So as a tech leader in the region and in the country, Grab wants to support this critical dialogue and partner with all stakeholders on critical tech issues. Topics such as AI ethics, gig economy, personal data governance, digital financial access, and inclusive growth warrant in-depth discussions within a complex region, Southeast Asia. So really, our challenge to ourselves and to everyone is how might we manage the pitfalls of tech while benefiting from its promise of good? Next slide, please. So very excited to share with everyone that this is the reason why Grab is establishing the Tech for Good Institute. So the Tech for Good Institute is an independently run nonprofit think tank. And it was set up precisely to initiate and drive conversations on critical tech issues. It seeks to facilitate discussions, exchanges of ideas, and research on how technology's promise for good can be advanced. So it will be guided by an independent board of directors and an advisory board, leading names in both tech and governance, and more details will be announced shortly on who the board of governors and the advisory board would be. So this is my first sneak peek that a Tech for Good Institute it will be established, and I will be reaching, and I already warning my fellow speakers and the DICT, of course, that we will be reaching out to put together more discussions such as this one. So for the second sneak peek is also to share some insights from the Institute's inaugural research paper on platform economy. Next slide, please. For its inaugural research report, the Institute tapped Bain & Company as a research partner to explore the role and potential of the platform economy in powering the engine of Southeast Asia's future growth. So one area the research looked into is the participation of consumers and merchants in the digital economy. And the results are promising that consumers and merchants are embracing digitalization, that in doing so, it is producing consequential benefits, as you can see from the screen, yet much progress is still to be made to ensure that everyone benefits from digitalization. So while the report examines the region as a whole, there are some country deep dives, and that includes the Philippines. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to share some insights into what the research study found. So in terms of consumer or customer and merchant participation, there's already a strong start in consumer participation, with 74% having completed at least one online transaction, but only 1 of 4 use at least 3 services. So that's on the consumer side. For the merchant side, 66% of merchant sales come from online to offline platforms, that's O2O platforms. But the study points out that more MSMEs can be helped to digitalize and to take part in the digital economy. So while adoption of O2O platforms by these 2 segments has increased, more can be done on the depth of usage. Next slide, please. So regarding this, I just want to share briefly how Grab is helping MSMEs digitalize. So I think it was Christian or Ian who said that, you know, some businesses had to pivot their business overnight, and, you know, Grab is actually one of them. So overnight, literally overnight, we saw our transport business go down when lockdowns were declared overnight in most of our markets in Southeast Asia. So this was a year ago. So we as a company also had to pivot very quickly, and the pivot was really to prioritize two things. So first is how do you empower merchants who are offline to go online? And second is for those merchants already online, how to ensure that they thrive online. So very similar to, I think, the objective of HP as well. So since that time, we continue to be committed to supporting and championing local businesses and MSMEs by providing them tools and training to thrive digitally. So we established the Small Business Booster program that includes giving access to our Grab merchant partners to Grab Merchant. It's yeah, I know the name could be more creative. The app is called Grab Merchant, our all-in-one self-serve merchant platform, which includes critical tools like Insights. So Insights, it's an enterprise-grade analytics dashboard, which gives our partners a view into their sales, their operations, customer profile and purchasing habits, and the effectiveness of their marketing campaigns. They also get access to an ads manager. So it's actually a self-serve ads creation tool that allows you to easily build your own food banner and food search ads and track the ad performance in real time using the Grab Merchant app. So these are some examples of the tools that we've built to ensure that it's easy peasy for our merchants to go digital in case they decide to do so. Next slide, please. I also included this slide because I thought it was a fun slide. It's also something that we've launched just last month. So we're now providing our merchant partners with actionable insights via a food trend report that we commissioned with Nielsen IQ. So this report features the consolidated insights of industry professionals, restaurateurs, consumer surveys, and focus groups on the food delivery industry shifting consumer needs and how COVID-19 is shaping the F&B industry today. So our hope is that in equipping our merchant partners with actionable insights, it can help them grow their consumer base and seize market opportunities in the food delivery industry. So this is a sample. What you see on the screen is a sample of the results that we're providing to our merchants. And the report is actually, a version of the report is actually also available to the general public. So if you are interested, you can find it on the Grab Philippines website. Next slide, please. So in addition to the insights on consumer and merchant participation in digital economy, the research also discusses the benefits and challenges of the platform economy. So I think everyone who has spoken before me acknowledge that, you know, digital technology will bring benefits, but it will also bring some challenges and risks that we all need to discuss, you know, as a society, as a community, on how to address these risks. And you know, the report is no different. It discusses these at length, but due to the limited time, I will not discuss it. And also because I also don't want to preempt too much. I don't also want to preempt the launch too much. But what I will discuss, and this is my last slide, is to share the path forward suggested on platform economy, because I believe this is applicable to digital readiness in general. So to reap the full benefits of platform economy and digitalization, we need to maximize the benefits while mitigating the issues and the risks. Included in this equation is the need for platform companies to hold themselves to a higher standard. So I guess platform companies, we could also include other tech or providers of new technology that not a lot of people understand or need to learn. So what are these standards that we need to be conscious of. We need to be transparent, accountable, and co-creating solutions with policymakers on thoughtful and tailored regulations that both support innovation and minimize the challenges. I think Joanne from Microsoft also discussed how policy should not kill the innovative spirit of technology, but really harnessing it and at the same time recognizing the pitfalls that it could bring. Second is we need to be invested in ecosystem building. We need to sustainably empower MSMEs and our customers. And for us, it also includes upskilling our driver and our delivery partners. So I just also want to share that in terms of upskilling, we partnered with Microsoft maybe a few months back to have a digital literacy program for our drivers. And the hope is we will be able to scale this program to include not just our driver communities, but maybe also their families, our merchant community, and other communities that we count as users of the platform. Thirdly is we need to promote users' interest. So we need to ensure that platforms are safe and secure for every user, whether it's for the customer, for our merchants, for our drivers. So it's really them trusting the platform, them trusting technology that will encourage the usage and for them to harness digital transformation. Lastly is it's a strong sense of ESG responsibility. So we need to be mindful about creating long-term environmental and social value to the communities and societies that we serve. So building platform responsibility is just one conversation that the Institute, the Tech for Good Institute, and Grab also will drive. So I look forward to collaborating with everyone here and all of the stakeholders in responding to this challenge. How might we manage the pitfalls of tech while benefiting from its promise of good? And judging by the presentations this morning, I think we are off to a good start, but we need to continue having these discussions to ensure that the public-private collaboration is really maximized and leveraged. That's it for Grab today, and I look forward to engaging more of you in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Paco.
Yeah, thanks, Bowie. I think that was a great note to be the last panel speaker for. I'm ganda rin that you ended with that call for public-private collaboration and public-private partnership. I also, really appreciate the data-driven presentation that you shared, and how that's not just driving your decisions, but also it's being shared with your merchants and partners as well. That's really nice. So thanks, and for the sneak peek also. It's nice to have previews before they come out. So with that, I'd like to thank all of our speakers. And like Bowie pointed out earlier, we are over time, but I'll try to sneak in a couple of questions before we go to our closing remarks. There are some questions in the Q&A, and I saw that some of our speakers have been answering them through chat. So if you want to do that, you can as well. But the first question that I have, I think is for, oh, my bad. Please give me a second to regroup. All right. Okay, the first question I have actually is for the telcos. They were our first two speakers. So this is for Attorney Roy and for Mamioli. For the telcos, from your assessment, what does the country need to level up our connectivity and digital services? What kind of reach and speeds do we need to achieve? And where should government investment in terms of digital infrastructure go?
You want me to go first? Or?
Either.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Roy. We've often said it enough, right? That what we need is a lot more investments in terms of infrastructure, right? because with the number of people or population that we have that are using the internet, we really need to increase, okay, the access to the internet and the infrastructure investments, ICT investments in general, right? So, and that will entail a lot of money, right? Because like I said earlier, the two enabling laws actually did a lot for the industry over just this last 2 years during the pandemic. What more if we had more support? And for the government, I think there is a lot of room for the government to provide its own network, which telcos can just, we can just go into the network of government and lease the network. Diba? So if government will invest onto the digital platforms, onto the digital network, or what we call the digital superhighway, it's really a lot of help for the industry, not just for the industry, but also to each and every Filipino. The speed, as we have been talking about repeatedly, right, and has been acknowledged repeatedly also by international researchers and even analysts, is no longer the issue. The issue is really having that consistent speed wherever you go because you are on mobile, right? And what's happening is things are getting to be locational, right? You move from one place, from Pasig to Quezon City, and somehow you get dropped. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to get to that seamless connectivity. Thank you.
Thanks, Ma'am Ali.
I'll
Attorney Roy.
just make this quick, Paco.
Ito.
So, well, in terms of speed, no, for the past year, I guess the pandemic really forced, no, a lot of the service providers really to shape up, because we really felt that in order to contribute to the national development amidst this pandemic, everything had to go online, no? Not only education, not only logistics, but everything, no? Most companies really had to operate virtually via the internet. So it was either we had to perform or else face the fact that our economy will severely drown if we do not improve the internet services. And I think for most service providers, I think we all fared well. No? We did better. We moved up a lot in terms of internet speed rankings. If smart, if our speed would be compared to the speed of other countries in Southeast Asia, would have ranked 4th, and in Southeast Asia, and for Pldt, the fixed, we would have ranked 3rd, no, in Southeast Asia. In terms of government support, we've always mentioned that it is only here in the Philippines, no, that telecommunication services is 100% driven by the private sector. It's only recently, through the Free Public Wi-Fi Act and through the leadership of the current DICT, that government has started really helping out the private sector in laying out the public good, which is the public infrastructure, in terms of aiding and improving the ICT infrastructure. And this is what we need, because all other countries in Asia or Southeast Asia, government has long invested, no, in providing that backbone, in providing that public good. So well, I think government should help out still by providing that public infrastructure, especially in the unserved and underserved areas. This is where I think private telcos will need help from the government by going there, by investing there, and we will follow. And also, government must also incentivize, no, private telcos to go there. At the same time, also to rationalize all these regulatory fees, which have been a burden to us, because we regulatory fee should follow the Supreme Court ruling that they should be reasonable and should only follow the cost of supervision and regulation, and not be equivalent to the form of a tax. Again, we would like that the Bayanihan 2 and all the be extended. It's only be given a term of 3 years. So from 2020, it will only last until 2023. But hopefully, government might reconsider and extend the benefits of the ease of rolling out the infrastructure by lessening all these regulations also to make it easier for us to roll out. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Attorney Roy. Okay, so thanks. We were able to hear from Globe and Smart. I have a question for our other speakers. We obviously a big conversation point that's been discussed this whole morning has been, the infrastructure side, right? Another that we've been trying to raise awareness for, and which I think we successfully did throughout the morning, is that role of upskilling in education. But do you see any other aspects, like what right outside those two things? Is there another aspect of digital readiness in terms of users that has to be explored further? I mean, Claire earlier talked about digital citizenship, and Joanna talked about increasing trust. Are there any other aspects such as those that you think need more attention when it comes to talking about digital readiness? I was hoping maybe like Christian, Bowie, and Joanna could.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Paco, for calling me out first.
Right. Okay.
No, I think no, I do think, right, part of digital readiness, right. I think a lot of the talks today have been really about, as you mentioned, upskilling and preparing the workforce. But one of the important insights that we've also gathered is also make sure a lot of not just consumers but also small, medium, and even enterprises have a very strong cybersecurity aspect in place, right? And especially, right, a lot of us, right, scramble to go work in our homes, right? And we've been working at home for more than 1.5 years, right? There's a very, I'd say, under narrated criticality of the threat of cyber attacks, right? Especially as a lot of our employees, right, have gone out of their corporate networks. A lot of companies still believe, actually, that as long as you have a very secure network and you have antivirus, right? You're safe, right? But obviously, those are fallacies because hackers, right, and cyber attacks have evolved dramatically, especially in the last 2 years, right? So I think it's that cybersecurity must be part of a digital readiness plan, right? And it really goes back to your endpoint security, right? Your device, right? Because if you look at it, right, a lot of IT managers spend a lot on infrastructure, right? Infrastructure security. But usually the most vulnerable are actually, right, again, human dynamic of, one of employees just, clicking an innocuous email, like, free voucher or here or there, right? Right. And you get malware and ransomware, right? And the endpoint, like such as the HP devices, right? And very important, your front gate, right, in fighting these cyber attacks, right? And also, if you go to the SMB side, right, it's one of the comments about, it's all about consumer. But even the SMB sides, right, while we do understand that it's very important to preserve cash flow, right, for business operations, right, but it's also important to somehow pivot and look forward, right, again, about how to secure every single employee, because at the heart of it, right, we all have to work on a PC or a laptop, right, and each one is actually a potential gate.
Copy that. Thanks, Christian. Bowie or Joanna? Joanna unmuted first, so.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, I agree with what Christian says about cybersecurity, making it core to every organization's plan for digital transformation. I would add to that as we're thinking about each of our roadmaps in the coming years, looking at it from a lens of environment and sustainability. How when we create our IT roadmaps, we're thinking about collectively together as an entire global community aiming to become net zero. We've talked about it a lot in Microsoft. That's why we have our own commitments, because the data centers are actually major consumers of power and energy. And so that's why as a company, we have made the commitment to be net zero by 2025 and net negative, carbon negative by 2030. So I would add that layer also as we build all of those digital strategies.
Thanks so much. Right, Bowie?
Hi, yes. Hi, Paco. So I guess I will give a very basic answer compared to what Joanna and Ian mentioned. So as you know, we work very closely with our drivers and delivery partners. So it's really more what we're finding in Grab is when we had to pivot to online training. So that was particularly challenging for most of our drivers, even for most of our merchants, I would say, like requirements regarding uploading documents, for example, and putting certain requirements online proved to be a challenge for our drivers. So we had to think of a hack on how to do it. Right, so it can't be an in-app training. We had to do Zoom trainings, and then it's literally step 1. You need to type in this browser. Step 2, you need to click. So I guess, and that's why I felt very heartened, hearing about what Facebook, what Microsoft, what HP has been doing on digital, skills, digital literacy. But because I think we tend to, like, for someone who's super used to digital and technology, we forget that most of our companions or compatriots are not quite there yet. So really, I think maybe even scaling up these initiatives that Microsoft, HP, Facebook has been doing, and partnering with governments to identify the communities that need it most, diba? Like who are the people that we're missing out when we talk, because we feel that it's so simple, but really what we're finding out, they really don't know what upload means. So that's something maybe we can work on together.
I guess just to at least back to that, that's an insight and experience we also have, right? A lot of our SMB partners, again, even logging in, right? Sometimes they have a hard time, right? And again, it's something that we sometimes overlook, but especially if SMEs are an important part, right, of the Philippine economic growth pillar. Right? I think we all can play a key part, right, in that. Education, as basic as it sounds, I think it is very, very important.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Bowie. Thanks, Joanna. As a last question for everybody, we have one here before we go to our closing remarks. Is from the lessons learned during the crisis, what 1 or 2 policy reforms do you think should be prioritized to accelerate digital transformation? If you could just rattle it off quickly so that we can just really the 1 or 2 top policy reforms that you want to see. Maybe Christian, who's on my screen for some reason now, you could go first, if you're okay with that. 1 or 2 policy reforms. I can't.
Sorry, just to close, right?
Yeah. If you have 1 or 2 policy reforms that you would like to see.
I think I'll just go back to go back to a lot of us are technology providers, and again it's all about growth. But I think go back to just the recent topic we were talking about is, right, how do we drive education, right, and upskilling the workforce. I know it sounds very, very basic, but it is, I'd say, very, very important, right? Again, it's no matter how much I'd say rolling out of technology and devices, but if the users don't know how to use it and really use technology to help them upgrade their skills, drive education outcomes, learning outcomes, drive business outcomes, it's hard, right? And even in my own experience in a lot of countries, people there have been a lot of projects of providing, for example, mobile computing devices to teachers, right? But even a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, right? Sometimes those devices end up to be like a paperweight. Right. And as funny as it sounds, and this is a an example from many years ago, and it still holds true today. Right. I guess it really is how do we the private sector and government, right, really help usher in that, right? Again, make sure that everybody's not just left behind in terms of digital equity, in terms of equipment and technology, but also in terms of knowledge.
Cool, great. So more inclusive policy reforms. Okay, so I'm going in reverse order here. So Bowie, would you want to share like 1 or 2 policy reforms that you'd like to see?
Sure. Paco, maybe not a particular policy or reform, but it's really more about how we do policy and regulatory and regulating, right? So our call to action is really, we need thoughtful and tailored regulations that look into the issue specific to the context that you find it, right? So maybe I take one example, quite controversial before, like gig economy. So people are citing US, UK, but the labor and the labor realities in UK and US very different from Southeast Asia, very different in Manila. So really our hope is, we're very open, collaborative, and wanting to share our knowledge and what we've learned to government, civil society, and all the stakeholders so that we can come up with a tailored solution to the problem instead of, forcing old laws, old regulations into new innovations, new technology. So, di ba, parang, ano yun sa Bible? Old wine, old skins into new wine. Or, yeah, I'm forgetting the Bible now. But, yeah, something. I know you get the picture.
Yes, we do. Thanks so much, Louie. Joanna?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier in my talk, right? I think for us to become a cloud-first nation, as the law is trying to encourage both government and businesses, we need to look at fiscal, budgeting, and procurement reform. Because until the government recognizes that many of these technologies are actually utilities more than they are capital outlay investments, it stands in the way of government agencies' ability to quickly procure technology and maintain technology. There's a specific procurement law called WETI, Water, Electricity, Transportation, and Internet Service Provider. Our recommendation is think about including online internet services and cloud computing services into that, and that will allow government to have more flexibility to add, to remove, to invest some more if these online services are what are required. And then second, I think it goes back to the point of Christian earlier around security. When we look at each of the agencies tend to invest in IT innovation meant for their own organization only. There's so much opportunity for government to break down the hierarchies of information sharing and data sharing that can help each other build a lot of these online services much faster. So to think about that piece around data sharing and the laws that get in the way of that data sharing.
Okay. Thank you. Attorney Roy, Ibay, 1 or 2. I know you did it. You mentioned earlier.
Very quick.
You want to recap the 1 or 2 policies there.
Basically, this would probably come across all the different pending bills, both in Congress, Senate, and different government agencies. For government really to adopt symmetry or balance in all these regulations. Case in point, the secretary mentioned earlier that the budget being given the ICT only 9 billion. So where's the balance in that? I mean, they'd like to have ICT be improved. They want to have. They know that the economy now is dependent on an online environment, and they have to put up exactly how much they prioritize the sector if they want it to improve. And this would reflect not only on the budget of the government or the DICT, but across all many pending bills and legislation. So we need that symmetry, we need that balance in terms of regulation across all the different pending ICT rules and regulations now pending in government. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Roy. Ma'am Yoli, do you have 1 or 2?
Yeah, Paco. I think we should look at digital transformation on an ecosystem basis, diba? Because it's not just one industry. It's all of us as a nation. So I think that's the kind of new mindset and new thinking that we should be looking at and encouraging government to look at. And for the government, syempre, if you're not using technology, how can you understand it, diba? So the first things first, you have to learn how to use it also. And if you catalyze public sector utilization of digital technologies, can you imagine yung impact niya to all of us? Whether you're MSME, you're a consumer, you're a corporate business, you're a multinational. Diba? So, key driver talaga ang public sector in our mind, right? And if they cannot understand it because they don't use it, so they have to start using it na. And you have the partners naman with private sector for them to help and support them as they journey, right? Through the digital readiness. So that's really, really very important. No matter what your law says. You know, in the Philippines, we have a lot of laws. Not a lot of them being used or wala namang governance, right? So even if you have all of these laws, but if you're not using it, wala din, right? It's useless, right? So you have to start first things first. 2 drivers, public sector utilization, that's key. And second is the education. If we continue teaching our students to be service and servants and OFWs, you can never go the route of digital readiness. Diba? Our students have to indulge in technology, IT, STEM. Diba? They have to do that. So we have to push that because that is the future. That is really the future. We have to stop teaching our workforce, our students, who will soon be the workforce of the Philippines, to become OFWs. We have to stop that. We have to stop the service economy because we can build our own, right? We can build our own adjunct industries like app developers, for instance. We have good IT professionals, for instance. Right now, we are so dependent on multinationals when we can do it ourselves. Why is India successful? Diba? Because it's IT and tech based, right? So those are the things that we can do. So hopefully we can do them with support, very strong support from the government.
Great. Okay, thanks, Ma'am Yoli. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And on that note, thank you for that, all of our speakers. I'd like to close our open forum and now pass it on to Mr. Orlando Oxales, who's the lead convener of Citizen Watch Philippines and one of our partners that help us organize this virtual town hall discussion today, for his closing remarks. So thanks so much, everybody. And Mr. Oxales, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paco. Thank you very much. Thank you again. We have been engaging strat-based ADRi with several of advocacies, and again, we'd like to thank strat-based ADRi President Professor Dindo Manhit, Paco, the Executive Director, and the whole ADRi team. Thank you very much, Secretary Honasan, for gracing this most informative and really inspiring forum today. Thank you for all of the industry representatives. Yoli from Globe, Professor Attorney Roy Ibay from Smart, Joanna from Microsoft, Christian Reyes from HP, and of course, Bowie Bonifacio from Grab. Thank you very much. And really all of us here, and especially the great audience that we have today, really appreciate your inputs. As we continue to fight the pandemic, we must stop the further deterioration of our economy. Safely rebooting the economy can no longer be delayed since the lockdown started disrupting all our industries. We have come to appreciate the enabling benefits of digital technologies. We must harness the full potential of these digital technologies, which virtually overnight has become an indispensable tool in this pandemic environment. The fast development of our digital infrastructure will be a major factor to the pace of our recovery. Reports from the telecommunications industry show the exponential surge in demand for mobile data services, putting more pressure to expand and upgrade their wireless and fiber optic networks. In fairness, the telcos have been aggressively investing in expanding the reach of their fiber optic and mobile networks, which has resulted to improving speeds and coverage. Policy moves to streamline the decades-old permitting problems of cell site and fiber network construction by DICT have greatly improved the pace, but building the tower backlog that has been piling up for years and the last mile connections will need a well-aligned investment strategy from government and the private telcos. It's the private telcos that have been driving investments in telecommunications infrastructure, which Fitch Ratings projects to further accelerate capital expenditures by up to 25% in the next years, and rated the Philippines as having one of the highest capex to revenue ratio in the Asia-Pacific region. However, in the last year's budget cycle, the DICT actually proposed a budget of 18 billion to implement the National Broadband Plan, but was instead given only 1.5 billion. Now, for everything they want DICT to do, now it's only 9 billion for 2022. A pittance compared to how governments of other ASEAN countries are investing strategic telecommunications infrastructure such as Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam with budgets of $233 million, $343 million to $820 million respectively. No wonder we're always lagging behind. The DICT has a national broadband plan that needs government funding. A low-hanging fruit that must be prioritized together with the connecting networks needed to bring these high-speed broadband signals to the consumers. This will substantially address connectivity concerns. However, committing financial resources is one thing, but like the construction delays in telco towers builds that has been addressed by new policy, a conducive regulatory environment is needed to take away archaic bureaucratic hurdles that were crafted during the pre-internet era. The leading IT companies such as Microsoft and HP has been aggressively engaging government to speed up a government-wide digital transformation to integrate appropriate solutions for improving public services and efficiency in operations. But policy barriers still stuck in non-digital bureaucratic processes and culture remain to be reformed. New initiatives such as Grab's Tech for Good Institute should be encouraged, as these are key elements that will boost our emerging digital economy. Given the problems of the education sector made worse by this crisis, what may be more challenging is developing the ICT skills of Filipinos to ensure the readiness of the country's workforce. This is critical for the country's global competitiveness. We need champions that will push the continuous digitalization and integration of government and business services pursuant to the Ease of Doing Business and Efficiency Government Service Delivery Act. LGUs and government agencies must streamline their bureaucratic processes and business operations using the appropriate cloud-based solutions. Equally critical, cybersecurity and data privacy, which are real risks that every netizen, and especially public or private enterprise, must take seriously. It is clear that our recovery from this crisis depends on how nimbly we can transform our human resource potential into a highly competitive digital force, ready to engage the global digital economy. More government investments is strategic in strategic telecommunications infrastructure that aligns with ongoing private telco infrastructure builds will result in the fast and reliable broadband services that we need to unleash the country's digital potential to become a key player in a digitized global economy. As we all look forward to another transition in our government, we must choose leaders who can be transformation champions in a highly digitized global ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Oxales. So with that, this is the end of we come to the end of our vTHD. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to the Secretary Anasan. Thank you to the over 250 participants that attended. This will be available on our social media channels on Facebook and on YouTube. Thanks so much, and I look forward to future conversations just like this. All right, bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Have a good morning, everyone.
Great
Bye-bye.
session. See you
Yes.
again.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Morning.